Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at Karateka. This is the 2012 remake of a 1984 Apple II program that the original creator of the original Prince of Persia game made. So it's a pretty simplistic game, and thus a remake of it is not going to be that complicated either. Not to say that it doesn't have potentially some chances of being interesting, because there are achievements, as we can see, so at least we know that there's some desire. There's about 12 achievements, so there's going to be also some hints and tips. I'm going to try and go in blind, other than just knowing that what the buttons do. So there's a punch, a kick, very simplistic game concept originally. I believe it was a game also that was rotoscoped, which means he had someone take photos of the movements, and then he grid pixel by pixel traced those movements into the character's movements. It is also worth mentioning, I think, that when I say Prince of Persia, I mean the original Prince of Persia, not Prince of Persia Sands of Time, which was a 3D platformer. The original Prince of Persia, a very difficult, and quite rightly, if you would call it, unfair platforming game that is barely even remembered, I would say, by today's generation. And Prince of Persia as a series eventually got into the hands of Ubisoft, and they had their Prince of Persia series. Then they tried to do a Prince of Persia reboot that went nowhere, and then they eventually just took the 3D platforming and climbing concepts and converted it into Assassin's Creed, which is kind of like going from the fat to the fire, because Prince of Persia was talking about ancient Persian stories, whether they are stereotypical or ever accurate of what Persia actually was like. And then they shifted to Assassin's Creed, which was ancient Middle Eastern assassins versus Templar Christian fighting, which, yeah, that really... It's a funny thing to potentially move away from one controversy directly into another, but very quickly they kind of shifted even the Assassin's Creed series away from their first main character in Assassin's Creed Altair to a much more liked character of I forget his name. Well, a much more liked character in the second game, which got 2 spin-offs to be like a trilogy, and then eventually they completely changed what Assassin's Creed was by the time they got to Assassin's Creed Origin, which is about the 5th game in the series, and they turned it from a 3D platforming where you're climbing and jumping and running and parkouring into just mostly an RPG game. And I don't believe that the creator of the original Prince of Persia really worked on even the Sands of Time series. But yeah, you have a punch, a kick, which is also a bow, and a flower button, which almost feels like that is a mistake to highlight that. A B button that is block and skip, and A that is a chi energy or key energy attack. You can also show your score and pause and move forward, and I don't know if there's anything else that we can really tell you. I had some difficulty setting up the resolution to be right at 1080p on this game, but yeah, that's enough setup. Let's just hop into it. Now, high atop a craggy cliff guarded by an army of fierce warriors stands the fortress of the evil warlord Akuma. There's an Akuma in Street Fighter, I believe, too. Deep within his palace, Akuma gloats over his lovely captive Mariko. 3 suitors set forth to rescue her. The first, her true love; the second, a righteous monk; and the third a loyal brute. Only one can succeed. This is the way of the Karateka. Which I assume Karateka is just kind of a made-up karate misspelling. And I don't believe in the first game you actually get 3 lives and 3 characters. Three characters may be just 3 hits. Now, remember, first game made for Apple II, these kinds of animations would not exist at all. I think in Japanese Akuma may just mean devil. A devil or the devil, or closest equivalent to the devil. So, a basic story. Evil warlord has kidnapped a girl. You're the good guy trying to save her, or one of the good guys. But you're going to be on this long linear fight of guards. So it's a warlord. So we can run, or we can walk slowly with the right stick, or we can use the D-pad, which is more not very sensitive. In fact, the whole thing is kind of herky-jerky. So he's going forward, prepare to block, and see how the camera is zooming in. Okay. And then apparently I can just kick now. And there you can't even attack until there's a combo. So it's button mashing after you defeat somebody. Interesting. Which that kind of falls in line of a more professional knows how it's just now saying X and Y to attack. And there we've just bowed to somebody. Let's see if we can bow to somebody and see if we can give honor. This guy just wants to fight. Once you get into this mode, you what's interesting here is it seems to me like we have no score so far. There we can. Interesting. It shows it, but then it stays up there. I can't toggle it off. Gal strength from Mariko's flowers. Interesting. And so now I think you're going to have an actual health bar and can actually die. And we can see that there's a hawk and 3 sub-generals, as it were, sub-bosses. And the hawk will play a role more than you would think. What's interesting is so often in video games you're used to being able to play push A and jump, or press B and run, and these buttons are just not here. Now, originally in Karateka, this would be all side flat 2D animation, going for, I don't know if we are, I blocked too early. Interesting. So, seems to me like you can only get a certain combo to start with. Watch out for multiple attacks. So now they're gonna start. They're gonna start doing double shots. And every time we attack, we are getting more points. But I think we also are being timed here. And so this is a complicated G full. Press A to start an enemy. hold, I guess, maybe the X or Y to do a special move. And then here's the hawk. Bowing to everybody. I feel like there's gonna be some kind of achievement for bowing to everyone, but I don't know if I have hit that yet. And this is gonna get faster. And notice how in that one, ooh, perfect fight. Notice how in that one there was a situation where sometimes he would attack once and sometimes he would attack twice. True love bonus plus 800, rope bridge bonus. See, I imagine the goal here is to get the I imagine what the goal is to get to the end with the first character, and I bet the game is not that long. And see, inherently that's kind of the problem with some of these games, particularly in this case where it is a straight up attempt at a remake for nostalgia reasons more than anything. So there I did the special attack and it did a special animation, so you might as well just wait, or you don't wait and interesting. So now he's wrecking me. Because sometimes he does 2, 3, and 4. These animations would all not be here. And there I just got an achievement, so called making a big splash. I imagine, oh, you have to spot the flowers. Now they're gonna get further and further in the background. This is kind of a great example of trying to take an old game and turn something that would be completely dismissed and make it better. Now, of course, the better example here would be that like New Super Mario World, for instance, managed to take something like Super Mario Brothers 1, Super Mario Brothers 1, and turn it into something that 35 years later was sellable to a new generation. That guy actually bowed, I think. So interesting. So your chi bar is the circle on the left, and your energy bar is the triangles. And see, I'm going for as many kicks and punches as possible. I should try to see what happens if I straight up... It's funny, they show you the score anyways, so... There's a hawk. Block now with B. And then press key. Y to kick. When the hawk is stunned, punch it. This hawk is super strong. Yeah, and in the original game, it was really just a cheap attack against you to take out one heart or maybe kill you instantly. And I wonder if you should not collect the Mariko flowers. You almost always are going to have enough health to justify refilling it. So there's definitely some references to like Drunken Master style and different styles. So, Drunken Master style. Not close enough. Notice that the animations here are not the highest. Like, if there was more fandom around this, you would have 4 or 5 different attack styles per mashing the same buttons, even. And 4 hit there. I guess I don't have the chi full yet. Now I do. There we go. And see, we've had 3 or 4 special special characters, so it seems like they've decided to make every single character a kind of almost unique character, even though a lot of them, as far as fight styles, are the same. And it really is just a question about how difficult they want to make this game, because so far it seems fairly easy, and unless this was a case where playing as the true love literally is the is stronger and you lose strength with the next characters. I would think that the 3 characters would either be on the same strength level or there would be something significantly different about their fighting styles. But I'm fairly easily just being able to mash the button. However, I am noticing that I am almost out of health. And yeah, I'm about to die. So we just got cheap shotted by the bird. And I see a health thing past this fight, so I have to survive this fight. Wow. And see, I don't know if the game just threw me a bone there or what. Like it probably threw me a bone. Notice that they're getting more armor. That's a modern way to potentially fix this. I'm about to get wrecked. But this is all just like timing. So. Yeah. And so now the monk is coming to save the princess. Which, monks are supposed to be like chaste and pure in thought, I thought, so. So do we reset at a specific checkpoint? It feels like, let's see, Mariko's flowers is there, but I can't pull any energy out of it. So no, it just resets back to where we were. There is that possibility, certainly, that you could have a different fight style, or you could just run into an annoying enemy that you can't quite beat. I find it also kind of irritating that there's no just cheap shot that can do a little bit of damage. I noticed that the monk does have more health. But clearly this game has been modified in this remake to make it much more acceptable and easy compared to the old days of Apple II, where those games would have been made intentionally impossible or difficult because they had to last on the floppy disk worth of content and programming you would have been able to make. Interesting. It doesn't seem to me like there's ever a point where you can get a hit in. Like, oh, there is. So, it's not just combo. And they did make the monk a bit bigger. Wow, it just there seems like it broke me. Like I'm trying to press forward and see if I can do something there, but I guess I can't. And notice they didn't want to put any voice acting into this, so they've now sent out the 2 remaining guards. So 1 boss down in less than 20 minutes. It's weird that it's the Y button for the flower. It feels like when we go back to the just controls here, wouldn't it make more sense to either have the A button be the flower collection, because you can't do a chi attack when you're not in the fight anyways, or have the B button do it because B would make more sense, or even the X button do it? There you go. I just got an achievement for bowing to somebody. I really would like a 4-button hit combo. 1, 2. There we have a perfect fight. Yeah, it really shouldn't be this easy. And so I'm only hoping that there would be, like, some kind of motivation. Now we're getting to like 4 hits. And I assume the idea here is to use the chi attack as quickly as possible, because if you use it then you're fighting well, then you refill it. There is a flower there, but I can't pick it up because I'm already at full health. This is getting faster. I have thought about potentially playing fighting games, and in no way do I think I am good enough to actually compete. And you can't walk backwards and get the flower you missed. Interesting. Notice how this is getting very side-scrolling. Now they've shifted the camera a lot, and I imagine this probably taught a lot to the original creator of Karateka, but also he's probably so old that him learning new ways to make video games is not probably as useful as you would think. Like, he really should be the idea man, and even at that, I think this should have been a testing the waters of potentially expanding the Karateka series, well, the Karateka game into a series. So there's just no reason not to get the flowers, as far as I can tell. And what you would probably want to do is either turn it into a new Prince of Persia series and combine your two well-known creations and set it in a kind of Asian-inspired area instead of Persia. Wow. Like, all I can really do is either succeed at blocking or wait for him to wave forward. And the timing's a little bit different. And see, I don't think that there is a way to actually take him out. And since there's nothing else to do, there really is no reason to not just bow to everything. These are nice little animations. In all fairness, you could probably just asset flip a lot of this. So can you bow? Alright, we bowed. Was this guy gonna not do anything? He hit first. And I kind of wonder if this guy is your warm-up guy to have your stun ready to go for the next fight. So this might be a kind of bad point to specifically use your chi attack, which I think has been full. Interesting. And that was called Path of Righteousness. I just got an achievement for that. And so now we get another 500 points for Palace Ascent. This is very much an arcade style game that in the day it would have been programmed, it would have made so much sense to potentially have to put in a whole nother quarter to get your health back instead of finding flowers. I don't think you got your health back pretty much at all in the original game. Alright, well... let's see. Wow. Gotta be careful here. Notice how he countered after just like one hit. And see, now the bosses are getting these like sub stations of health and a second phase to their attack. Yeah, playing a game like this, which undoubtedly is incredibly easy, is rather encouraging me to at some point in the future actually dive into the deep realm of fighting games. Of course, I would just be playing single player. I don't want to play fighting games against other people, and I would be playing on the easiest mode. I could imagine expanding this also to the idea, interesting how zoomed out it is, of a punch-out style game. Notice how my life bar seems to be getting higher, where certain fighters have certain weaknesses and certain maneuvers. It does definitely feel like kind of a modern take on that idea, with a little bit more work and polish. There we go. And it seems like we are getting the biggest, just really different looking enemies now. It seems like it's not so much how many blocks you block. Also, it often seems like it's kind of random as to whether or not you actually are capable of fighting back and countering. That could be a timing thing. If this is a timing thing, though, the timing is fairly easy. And yeah, all they're really doing is throwing the same guy at me with different costumes. Now, can you really make a potential Prince of Persia type game where you're fighting with this fight mechanic alone? No, you would have to expand it quite a bit, which I think the sands of time fight mechanic probably took a lot of work until they finally got it polished to something that really made sense. There we go. Interesting. Double hit. There. There almost certainly is an achievement for not using any health at all and just getting perfect fights. And I would imagine in that case there probably is also an argument against probably is an argument against trying to get all of those achievements. See, he's telling you to hit him, but it's actually a trick, and he then does a combo. See, he's countering everything like twice for every time I counter something. And it's interesting that you see these people running forward instead of them just standing in a specific spot. So you can see that motion of an actual Yep. Actual person. Seems very weird that we seem to be very, very close to the end. And we've gotten so many perfect fights. But almost like they intentionally want you to succeed the first time through. Which that feels a little hand-holdy. Because at a certain point then you need something like ghouls and goblins where you beat the game and then they go, nope, that was actually just a dream, and you have to play the whole game a second time, even more difficult. 10,000 points is kind of an interesting round number also. If this is the point where interesting, it felt like there was a branching path there. I imagine that's just where the other guy or the monk would have climbed up the mountain. Although they probably wouldn't even bother to animate a different climb up the mountain animation. It's just being really ridiculous. What's funny is I'm fairly certain that I did miss a couple of bows on a couple of characters. So if I was going to just try and bow to everybody, I also have failed at that. Yeah, you would need several castles. Like, you probably want to introduce the idea of warring states, Asia, China, and going to different places and having to go to different places to get different items or get different kinds of training, unlocking new skills, just modern things you'd expect from a video game if you're going to try and take this any further. But then also, if you just kind of don't care and you just want to celebrate Karateka, this isn't a terrible depiction of a remake of a very old game, and it wouldn't be terrible to see a lot of remakes of really old games. After this game came out, we started to see THQ Nordic and the Embracer Group buy a lot of games, and Night Dive Studios promised to remake or re-release a lot of games. I'm not sure we're at 100% confidence that they actually have done a great job of that so far, but they're trying, certainly, to remake some and re-release others and just kind of port them if they just can be played with ports without any major problems. One game series that would be kind of a great example of that would be like the Alone in the Dark series could use real just direct remasters or remakes, not really changing anything. Whereas like the Silent Hill series would have to be remade because they lost their code. Whereas Super Mario Bros. World or Super Mario Bros. 3 really kind of just would need a remaster. This guy is a boss, obviously. And if I can't get enough hits on him to stun him fairly quickly, he's gonna take me out. He has kind of this delay. So yeah, it's only fair that we would end up if we're gonna even win this game, end up winning with the third life. It's an interesting thing. Mariko clearly is just like this beautiful maiden, probably princess considering her kimono. Now we're playing as this awkward looking character. He doesn't have a bow. He has a fist animation. And he feels like a big bruiser. So I wonder if he's just going to do twice the amount of damage. He's so wide. Like, this is anatomically insane, the way he's being depicted. There we go. Now we have full health. And he seems to probably do one triangle of damage as much as the other guy, but he might be more an easier counter. Because look, I just basically did a perfect fight on him almost. Now I wonder if this smaller health bar opens up a way that they could regain some health. Yeah. Oh man, you gotta dodge that twice. Do we finally have to take on the bird? What's interesting there is it seems like you recharge one triangle but it's got quite a delay there. So you may just get cheap shotted here by the bird. And this guy has no kicks. Interesting. So we know we need to block, but he is wrecking me on the blocks. And apparently I got 1 health back for doing that. Can we move? Like, theoretically, what you would want to do here is just run away. Press A to revive brute, lose 3,000 points. Okay, well, interesting. They even give you a continue option. See, your B button only goes up for a brief time. And I think the time you're supposed to dodge is probably a lot earlier than it seems like it should be. Yeah, he needs to be about halfway towards you in his final dive. But yeah, it does not also feel like it is really working. You don't have any kind of chi attack you can do against this. The bird is not recovering his health. So theoretically, if you were really, really good at this, this would be your opportunity to recover health. But it's not really working that way. Music is looping a little too much now, although in all fairness, I shouldn't be struggling this much, I don't think. Or at least they don't think that I should be struggling this much. I may get wrecked again here if I'm not careful. Seems like almost the timing has changed. Yeah, it seems like it is demanding a double block at the final. So all those perfect fights, all those points, not really mattering. You would want a way to either cheap shot this or just have the bird. Have the dumb bird actually be able to take at least a little bit of health when he crashes into you. And if you never took a hit from him up to that point, do you have to fight him? Or is he weaker? Or is it all just the same? Now, if I recall correctly, I think maybe in this game or a different game, there's this point where you have to press a button to change your stance from aggressive, otherwise you're gonna run up to the girl and like kill her. In the original game, I imagine they took all of that out because that probably irritated a lot of people. Yeah. Alright, well, I guess I could have tried to bow against the guy. Headbutt special attack. This guy is... Alright, so now he's into his phase 2, which also seems to have built up my health, which definitely makes it seem like it's an interesting way to tell a story, potentially, to say that sure you can get an ending, but it won't be the quite good ending if the Princess Mariko is saved, if she's saved by the wrong character. See, apparently they wanted to get him so that we can do one special hit here. Boss defeated for 2,500 points and then another achievement. So I've done like 5 achievements in total. And he just grabs her. And hopefully she realizes that he's come to save her, and he really has come to save her, because you just really don't know. As far as you can tell, the brute may just be kidnapping her for his own place. So, new high score, 10,896. Mariko is grateful for the brute's bravery, but he's not really the love she dreamed of. Try for the next step in Karateka mastery. Rescue Mariko with a suitor who will make her even happier. It's an interesting kind of like romance as the princess in a castle type story that, yeah, even in 84 those were not stories that really told that much, but certainly that is the old school way of Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty being saved by a knight in shining armor, and then a like forced storyline reason for them to fall in love because of that. So says rank 7,640. And this is leaderboards between friend scores. So let's see what the highest scores are. Like, well, you definitely seem like some people are cheating these high scores. I seriously doubt how you could have scores anywhere that high. Like, if I had, I guess it's maybe a time thing, but how would you move so fast to be able to do it in like 15 minutes? That's the question. Jordan Mechner. Developed by a company working for Jordan Mechner, basically. It may get to a point where old game developers may have to just sing their own praises as far as who their old games, because publishers probably wouldn't care about a game like this. This more than likely was, if I was to guess, was probably funded around the idea of an Xbox arcade style game or a kind of indie game type release. And if I did not know the history behind this, I would just assume that this was a kind of low effort asset flip Chinese game that comes out nowadays, as far as it being just too short and too simplistic. Let's see, Prince of Persia came out in '89 and it was made for the Apple II originally too. And he made Prince of Persia 2, The Shadow and the Flame in 1993. He founded the independent developer Smoking Car Productions in 1993, which led to a CD adventure game called The Last Express. Last Express was re-released in 2012 by .emu for mobile and other platforms. He was the game designer, writer, and creative consultant for Sands of Time. He also converted Sands of Time to a movie that nobody's going to remember. He released development journals from the 80s. He was able to recover the source code from Prince of Persia when he found a 23-year-old 3.5 Apple Pro DOS floppy disks and posted it online. So yeah, as a game developer, he's not so much a game developer as someone who moved on to making movies and not really accomplishing as much as you would hope to when you think of who the potential creator of the Sands of Time series would be. Although in all fairness, was it Ubisoft with a large team that made the Sands of Time series of games better, or was it the initial concept? Because if Prince of Persia had just stayed as a 2D game, probably wouldn't have been that interesting. And same is kind of true with Karateka here. You can definitely recognize that the team that worked on this game worked on it from the perspective of remaking an old game, not from the perspective of trying to make something brand new that could lead to a sequel. And when you compare this to something like the reception of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is clearly just a Castlevania game without the Castlevania name, that game took the old concepts of Castlevania games and homaged them and parried them, but made them also more modern and more interesting, to the point where almost certainly there will be a Bloodstained 2 game that comes out, whereas almost certainly, well, we can make that assumption if this came out in 2012 and I'm playing this in 2021. 2012, is that really when this game came out? Yeah. And that is, it's been 9 years since this game is out. Let's look at the hints and tips, and then we'll call this an episode. I think I'll look at the achievements, and we'll go through one more run at least. Don't button mash, attack only when the enemy is open after blocking his attack. I was mostly doing that. I imagine a lot of people were button mashing. Block enemy attacks in rhythm. 1 clean B press for each blow. Don't hold B down. Let the music tell you if the enemy will attack with 1, 2, or 3 or more blows. Save your special chi attacks for when they will do the most good. Press Y to restore your strength when you see blue flowers glowing in the landscape. So there seems to be no element that different there. And interesting. There's no resume, and there's no difficulty settings. So yeah, you would expect there to be some difficulty settings, unless you have to beat it with the highest, with the True Love character, then you get a extra hard mode. But even at this point, and even though I do want to give it another go, I have 5 of 12 achievements, so I'm probably about halfway through this game in less than 2 hours, and I think we've probably seen everything there is to see. What you would want to see is to turn something like this more into a roguelike game, where each time you make a run, you level up your character. Each time you take a run, it's randomized. There's several different environments, several different types of enemies, several different types of attacks or abilities. That would probably be the way to elevate a game like this into something more modern. Of course, that would also just take it that one more step away from being close to the original Karateka game. And inherently, it is questionable. It's very, very questionable whether you did need a remake of Karateka, or whether it should have just been resigned to history as a game that was fairly well received when it came out many, many years ago, but nowadays just does not stand up to the test of time. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.